it is I, Tantus Narabad Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue our discussion on Pathfinder. We're just about done the combat section, and today, I'm going to try to finish it up with you. So let's talk about some more information from the special attacks area of it. We just finished talking about the combat maneuvers. Let's talk about some of the other things in the special combat section. First off is thrown splash weapons. This is any kind of item that you throw and it breaks on contact, spreading whatever material is within it on the target and possibly on adjacent targets next to it. Now, when you do this, it's a ranged touch attack, and you don't have to worry about having the non-proficiency penalty. You don't get that -4. Everybody is effectively proficient with a thrown splash weapon. Now, a direct hit on someone deals the direct hit damage listed under that thrown splash weapon. Then anyone adjacent to them, within 5 feet effectively, takes the splash damage, which is listed under that item again. Now, you can actually choose not to target someone directly. You can choose to target a square. You target a corner. When you target that corner, it's AC 5, you have to hit it, and then it does its splash damage, not direct damage, to everyone in those squares that it's the corner of. Now, you cannot target a square that a creature takes up, so you couldn't target the square in the middle of a large creature or the middle of a huge creature, one of those type of things. You can't target those type of squares. It has to be on the edges of creatures, not in the middle of them. Now, should I miss with that ranged touch, there's the possibility that it goes off in another direction. You roll a d8. 1 means you've gone short. Well, effectively, it's closer to you. That means I threw it a little shorter than what I want it to be. Then from 2 to 8, it goes around clockwise, going on the diagonals and left, right, etc. like that, from the target location, whether it's the corner of a square or it's an actual creature. Now, for every range increment you were throwing it, you then subtract 1 square from the distance you were doing. So if I was throwing it only single range increment, it's only 1 square back. On the other hand, if I'm throwing it like 4 range increments, it's 4 squares back. Now, the thing that I have to note here is you cannot add precision damage to one of these type of attacks. That means I cannot sneak attack with a thrown splash weapon. No matter how much I try, it's not going to sneak attack with someone. You can catch someone off guard and get that they're flat-footed, but that's about the best you can do. So let's move on and start talking about 2-weapon fighting. This is fighting with a weapon in each hand. It effectively gives you extra attacks. So that means if I'm fighting with this one in this hand and this one in this hand, I get my normal attacks, whatever it is, 1, 2, or more, and then I get an extra attack with this hand. Now, the only thing is, when I'm just doing this, I get a lot of penalties. I get -6 to my attack with my primary hand, -10 to my attack with my offhand. I can start reducing these penalties. The first thing I can do, of course, is have a light weapon in this hand. The book classifies light weapons when it breaks apart all the equipment. You can take a look at them. If you use a light weapon in this hand, you subtract those penalties by 2, so this becomes 4 and 8. I can reduce this even further. I can reduce this either further or reduce it in a different way by having the 2-weapon fighting feat. The 2-weapon fighting feat reduces the penalty to using attacks in this hand, the primary hand, by 2, and the offhand by 6. That's a lot. So that means if I just had the 2-weapon fighting feat, I'd have -4 and -4 to my attacks. Or if I had a light weapon and the 2-weapon fighting feats, -2, -2, which is the best you can have. There's a chart in the book that mentions all these different combinations. Now, I can fight with a double weapon. The most simple of double weapons, of course, is a quarterstaff, where I can attack with both ends. There are, of course, other things like a double-bladed axe and stuff like that. What this allows you to do by using a double weapon is automatically the off hit counts as light. So since I'm using this with 2 hands, I automatically get the light bonus when attacking with this hand. And I would just need the 2-weapon fighting bonus to minimize my penalties when fighting with this 2-handed weapon. Now, I can 2-handed weapon with thrown weapons. Certain type of thrown weapons count as light, others count as one-handed, and you have to look at what it says in the book to see which one is which. For example, a dart or a shuriken is light, so I could double hand darts and shurikens, or I could do one type of thrown weapon here while throwing a dart and shuriken in my other hand. On the other hand, using a bolas, a javelin, a net, or a sling counts as one-handed for thrown weapons. So that would be this hand. Now I could sling in each hand, but I'd have that I would have the -4 at minimum if I took 2-weapon fighting, but I could be like boom, 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 boom. It's kind of silly looking though too. So let's move on to talking about special initiative actions. These are actions which change your initiative. It's exactly what it sounds like. The first one you want to talk about is delaying. Delaying means I'm waiting to take my turn. I'm choosing not to take it when my initiative comes up and pushing myself back further down in the initiative. Now, this means at any time I can move in and reinsert myself in the initiative, but it would be after any kind of action I want to respond to, which means an enemy does something, rather than interrupting them, I would go in after they are done and then put my initiative there now. Now, this same technique can be used that it will then cycle around, and until your next turn, you're delaying. So it could make it that your initiative is then higher because you waited so long, or if you waited all the way to your next turn, you just didn't take a turn. You delayed an entire turn and lost it. Maybe there wasn't anything for you to do during that turn, but the possibilities exist that maybe it would have been useful for you not to delay. It's a balancing act of when it's important to delay and when it's important to act. And this is, of course, a voluntary reduction in initiative. You're choosing to reduce your initiative, and whatever point you're putting yourself back into is the fixed point of your new initiative. So if it's the same initiative count as another creature, it would be after that creature, of course. Or if you're acting before that creature, you're choosing to act before their initiative count anyway. Again, it's changing your initiative. But then we want to talk about the initiative changing that does form a reaction to something. The ready action. So a ready action is a standard action to do. You basically prepare another action for later on with some kind of triggering situation. That when that triggering situation occurs, you may take your ready action. You don't need to. It is your option. Game Master will tell you, oh hey, this is happening. I can react to it with my ready action. Now I can prepare a standard, a move, a free, or a swift action when I'm ready. I can ready any of those type of actions. And my initiative then kind of goes by. I've readied my action. I readied it on my normal turn. I could have taken a move, of course, but when the triggering effect happens and I choose to react to it, I act before the triggering act. So if my readied action would say when a creature moves up to me, or when a creature looks like it's about to attack, so before the enemy would roll that attack roll, I would insert myself in and make my attack. Now, you can ready for an enemy, for a friend, for any kind of situation happening. Whenever you interrupt them, you don't stop their turn. Unless circumstances really should say it. Like, if my ready action is to strike someone and it manages to kill them, then they can't take their turn. But as long as they are physically able to continue their turn, they will continue with whatever actions they were doing before your readied action took place. So you interrupt them, do something, they continue. This changes your initiative to right before the creatures that triggered your ready action would be. So if I reacted to a friend, my initiative would now be right before theirs. If I reacted to an enemy, my initiative would still be right before theirs the next turn. I can choose to hold off on that ready action entirely until my next turn, and again, it'll change to whatever initiative I take, and if I don't take it by my next turn, I just don't do anything. The triggering event did not happen. I'm taking another turn. I was ready for it, but nothing happened. Again, you could also get higher initiative if you're readying for something and the person originally had initiative higher than you and then they trigger it. Your initiative is now higher than theirs. Now you can 5-foot step as part of a ready action if you took no other movement during your turn, actual movement. So that means when I readied my standard action, if I didn't move at all as part of that readying standard action anytime around there, then I could take a 5-foot step as part of it. I could sort of move up into something or move to intercept something. I readied myself and included that little bit of movement if I needed it. You have to just choose to do that. Now you can ready to hinder spellcasters in a couple of ways. First off, you can ready to attack them. If I'm up next to a spellcaster, I've ready to attack them when they cast a spell, I still might get that 5-foot step if I didn't move. If I was adjacent to them to begin with, hey, they could step away and try to cast a spell and I could move up and damage them, and then they have to make a concentration check. On the other hand, you can also ready a counterspell. When you ready a counterspell, you have to be able to identify the spell that's being cast. You have to make a spellcraft check. Then you would effectively you cast whatever spell would be appropriate as long as you have that on your list to counterspell the target. Because casting a counterspell, it means it cancels out the spell. Spell with spell cancels it. I could ready a Dispel Magic to do the same thing, but there's a chance of its failure because it's a caster level check. It is, though, an option that I can ready counterspelling someone. Now, the last thing you can do with readying is readying against a charge. You can brace. Now, readying against charge just means I'm ready, I hit someone when they move up to charge me, but if I have a weapon with the brace ability, I do double damage. It's effectively made to stab into someone charging at you and do extra damage, that they put it against the ground so when they skewer themselves into it. That's what it kind of does. So that's it for today. We finished talking about the special combat actions you can do and the special initiative actions you can do, the delay and the readying. Next time, we're going to move into talking about magic. We finished up the combat section. We finished up that area. We're going to talk about magic. We're going to talk about spellcasting. We can see about how many more episodes it's going to take to finish talking about the player's handbook, but I think we're making some great progress in it finally. We've burned through a lot of the more important rules to talk about and the more important things to go on about. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It shows your support for the channel, the Empire, and the work I do. And until the next time, I bid you farewell.